Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning into this video. And if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up down below. Feel free to also interact with me in the comment section down below. So there's been a lot of buzz around the Ice Spice and CleoTrapa incident that took place recently, with CleoTrapa breaking down a 6-part video about what happened between her and Ice Spice, how the friendship dissolved early on in the year, which we had no idea about until she kind of came out and explained it. But if you follow CleoTrapa, you know that she's someone who is hilarious and who really has like a light about her. She kind of does a lot of skits and she has her music out. But a lot of her skits, the reason why I related to her was because she's a girl from New York. I'm from New York. She does a lot of skits about being from like the public school system, her grammar lessons, like growing up in a similar way that we all can relate to. So that's kind of what drew me to her. And I was following her way before I knew who Ice Spice was, or before Ice Spice even came on the scene. And I think there are just a lot of lessons we can pick up from what she talked about and the experience that she went through. And I want to approach this from like a little bit of a different angle. I know there are a lot of different factors for why this friendship went sour, but I want to kind of move away from that and just kind of give it more of like a human touch and relate it to it in a different way. Obviously race, colorism, and a lot of other different factors went into this and why this friendship dissolved. But I really want us to like go into the lessons that she pointed out and the lessons that she referenced in this video, and some things that I really picked up from this. If you want to see the full breakdown, I'm not going to break it down here, but I'll try and link down below her TikTok. I think the link to her TikTok, I don't know if I can link like the entire 6-part here, but you can go on her TikTok to see how she breaks it down, every little detail that she mentions. But she really starts out the video like almost crying, really. I think that's what really shocked me, because I've always known her to be so jovial and she's always like making funny videos, funny commentary. So I've never seen her put out anything this serious. So I know this really, really bothered her, and she really went through something that, she's trying to like convey to us. So it really touched me that she felt so, she felt emotional like sharing this with us. But basically, in a nutshell, Ice Spice basically invites her out to the Y2K tour a day before, telling her that she's gonna perform and that she should come on tour. She's gonna take care of her. So Cleo basically was like, oh, like, do I have to bring anything? Do I have to take care of anything? And Ice Spice let it be no, she has her, like, she's her girl, she should come through. I'm guessing this is kind of how the conversation went based on how Cleo described it. But fast forward, Cleo comes on tour and she's being made to carry her own bags. She's not part of the activity. She's not part of like eating with the crew. She's being treated kind of in the same bucket as the makeup artist and the hairstylist, who later on became her friends, because Ice Spice was like treating her so poorly. Food was being kept a secret, and when she tried to like confront Ice Spice about the entire situation, they basically like dismissed it, kind of telling her she wasn't part of the budget. And it's like, not part of the budget. Like, when I asked you early on, you said you would take care of everything. So that was like one red flag, and she noticed a couple of red flags along the way, and she just kind of felt humiliated the entire tour. She didn't feel like she had a friend. She had to make new friends with other people on the tour, in the tour bus. So it was really, really sad to watch for me, because I feel like I can relate to some of her experiences. Obviously not to that extent, like I'm not part of the industry in any way, but some of the things that she shared, like, we're human, we can relate to it. And then later on, when Ice Spice came out and also addressed it, her response was almost dismissive. And she really didn't deny anything that Cleo was saying, which let me know that everything that Cleo was saying was truth. Like, that is insane to me. So anyway, let's jump right into some of the lessons that I really wanted to get into concerning this incident. One of the first things that I want to point out is that every single one of us, or almost every single person that I've come across, has a light to them. Obviously, Cleo has like a light to her, and that's why a lot of people follow her, are drawn to a lot of the content that she puts out. And obviously Ice Spice was drawn to her in some way in order for her to like bring her on tour, try and tap into her fan base and use her and be around her all this time. There was something that she was gaining from her. And I think that's something that Cleo really missed. I Am Eloho's channel broke it down in depth. She kind of foreshadowed this friendship dissolving, or like foreshadowed Ice Spice not really being a true friend to Cleo. But Cleo really missed the red flag. She missed like the breadcrumbs that were like left ahead of time. And it's unfortunate that it took all the way up into this situation for Cleo to see that. And I'm sure she feels like such a big fool now, right? She had to learn the lesson the hard way, and that's unfortunate, but really it's part of life, I would say. But anyway, just to break it down, I feel like there's something special about each one of us, and I think it's important to like recognize that and protect that energy away from people who are like vultures and monitoring spirits. There are people who would literally try and be part of your life just to tear it apart. Like, they see that you're thriving, they see that you're working hard, they see that you're trying to keep your light on every single day in your life, and they would just come and pour water on it. Like, this is something that I think that at this point Cleo has learned, and it's something that I'm sure a lot of us have learned, or if you haven't, it's something to be mindful of. Protecting your energy, I think, is like so important, and it's so necessary. If you don't go through these experiences, there's no way for you to know or like discern, you know, who's around you for what and why they're around you. Obviously, she was being a good friend to Ice Spice, or she thought she was her friend. She was probably pouring into her more than she was pouring into her. And it took this situation for her to like open her eyes and realize that she should have been shielding her light a little more from this girl. Another thing, Cleo mentioned throughout her video that she wanted to make the best out of the opportunity that she was presented with. Even though she recognized that she was in a bad spot and that she was being humiliated, she really wanted to make use of the opportunity, and that God had put this in her lap for a reason. That if God didn't think she was strong enough to handle this, he wouldn't have put her there. While that's true, I just want us to be cautious of the fact that not all opportunities are given to help us thrive. Some opportunities come into our lives to monitor us, to kind of bring us down, to just kind of stifle us in a way. It's an opportunity for the person who brings it into our lives, but sometimes it's not there to serve us. Even though we do end up making the most of that situation, the opportunity initially doesn't come to serve you. It comes to serve someone else's best interest. And then when the opportunity comes into your life, after you maybe made use of it, after you benefited from it in some way, now how you know this doesn't come from like a good place is that now you feel obligated, or the person who brought this opportunity into your life is making you feel obligated to serve them in some way. Like, if they do something, or if you get into a situation with them, now you can't call them out on it. Now you can't speak against them. Now this opportunity is gonna always be held against you in some way. And I feel like that's not an opportunity. I've been in situations like that where I've had to like clock that. I've been in situations like that where I felt like I won't accept something from a certain individual or certain individuals if I feel like this is going to be used against me in some way. I try not to welcome that energy into my life at all. It doesn't matter how bad I need whatever is being presented to me, because down the line, who is it really benefiting? It most likely won't be me, right? I'm going to have to end up biting my lip against this person in some shape or form. I'm gonna end up having to serve them in some shape or form. So we have to be really cognizant about situations where things are brought into our lives shaped like opportunities, but we have to have that sense of discernment to say, will this serve me, or will this serve this person's best interest? And do they really even have my best interest at heart at the end of the day? And opportunity doesn't only come once. You can get this somewhere else. It will come in a better form than how it's being presented to you in that present moment. If you're giving me something and I have to kiss your butt, or I have to do degrading things, or down the line it has to be thrown in my face in some way in order for me to receive this, then I don't want it. That's not something that I want in my life. So that's something I want us to really be mindful of. Ice Spice basically felt like just because she gave Cleo this opportunity, now Cleo was made to like carry her own bags, get her own food, not hang out with the crew or hang out with Ice Spice the same way she was hanging out with other people. And that's insane to me because you brought her on as a friend. If you felt like that wasn't gonna be the vibe, you should have let that be known from the beginning. You're the artist, you're the talent, you know, you're the main act of the show. Like, you could have communicated that. Or if you didn't want her there, you didn't have to bring her. But she obviously brought her there to serve a certain interest of hers. Like, I don't know if it stroked her ego or if humiliating Cleo kind of like brought out something in her. I don't know what it was, but it definitely wasn't for Cleo's benefit. And Cleo realized that when she went through that experience, which is really unfortunate, that she had to like go all the way there and waste her time and her energy in order to learn that lesson. And in the same token too, just going through experiences with like friends or situations where people have like pretended to help me, it really also makes me recognize that the friends who have generally helped me and didn't really expect much in return, those are kind of the relationship that you have to like try and like work on and cherish, you know, because a gift always deserves a gift, right? If someone gifts you something, they always want that to be reciprocated in some way. Like, you thanking somebody for giving you something is reciprocity, right? But down the line, you might also do something for them in return. But it doesn't really have to be like a tit for tat. Like, oh, you just did this for me last week, now this week I'm coming to ask you for $1. Like, I get it. You don't have to come and collect right away. Like, you can give it some time and we can wait and, you know, let it be a friendship. It doesn't have to be, oh, I helped you and now next week I need your help right now. You know, I think that's something that serves your best interest and not my own. And another point that like Cleo brought up that I thought was like really interesting was the fact that when she brought up her concerns to Ice Spice was like dismissing it. Like, she basically didn't. You guys can get into more of the video on her TikTok to see just kind of her specific responses. But Ice Spice ignored her, basically, her request around like why things were happening. She's just trying to get a better sense of like, you know, what's going on and why it's going on. And Ice Spice was basically like, you're not part of the budget. Like, I pay my security for this. Like, but you didn't tell me that in the beginning, right? Like, and I think that's where, I don't know if it was I don't think it was miscommunication. I think Ice Spice was definitely intentional and knew what she was doing. I think she just brought Cleo out, you know, to basically leave her in the dust, like in that desert that they went to. And really, like, it really goes to show me that like a friend who doesn't like you, you can't really reason with them. Like, she's already made up her mind about anything that you bring up to her. So Cleo coming to tell her, hey, like, you know, I feel some type of way about what you told me, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't care. She's not hearing any of that. All she's hearing is, why is this girl in my face? Like, I don't like her. Like, I gave you an opportunity, make do with it, whatever. Like, she doesn't care if you fall in the gutter somewhere. She literally doesn't care. So everything that you're saying to her is just going into thin air. And I've had a situation like this where I've kind of fallen out with a friend and we've tried to like have a heart to heart. And this is actually me, right? So they're talking to me and I'm listening, but I've already kind of made up my mind about who they are and why, you know, whatever happened. So even though they're talking to me or we're trying to reconcile something, I've made up my mind this isn't gonna work out. So Ice Spice talking to her already knew like this relationship was a wrap. It was already a wrap before they even went on the tour. Cleo just didn't know that, but she found out that day. She found out on that tour. So her trying to reason with her and send her these long paragraphs after the fact or have these conversations with her on the tour, it was really falling on like deaf ears. She didn't hear a word and she didn't care. She like, even with the responses that her dad came out with, her manager, Ice Spice, you can tell none of them cared about her and they all looked down on her in a way. Like, Ice Spice feels like she's too big for the program. She feels like, you know, Cleo's not even on her level. Like, how dare you come in and dress me about this, you know? And it really is just pure arrogance and no consideration for someone who you called a friend. And another lesson and another big takeaway from this is something that I've also experienced in my life, and I'm sure we all have. Avoiding friends who when you're around them, it feels like you're competing with them. You should never be around anybody who makes you feel like you have to like one up them. Like, oh, you know this guy? Oh yeah, I know him and all his family. I know him in the shoe he wears. I know him in the house he lives in. Like, all I did was ask if you know him, right? Like, every time you're around this person, there always has to be, oh, I didn't, oh, I had a salad today. Oh, I had 10. Okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you are around somebody who you feel like you have to one up, that's not the right relationship to be part of. That's a completely toxic relationship. And I feel like Ice Spice recognized that Cleo was her competition, but Cleo had no idea. In her mind, this was a friend, and this was somebody who she supported and who she hoped would support her back. But obviously that wasn't reciprocated in any way. So that's like one big thing that I've learned. And the last bit that I wanted to add is that Cleo, just based off the way she was kind of emotional about the situation, I know she's probably gonna be hardened as hell for a long time about who she brings into her circle, and might probably even like side eye other relationships that she might get involved with, or relationships that she's already a part of. Because situations like this, when people are hurt, they in turn either subconsciously hurt other people, like indirectly they will just look at other relationships and just side eye everyone, because you can't help but not to do that. Like, you can't afford to just turn a blind eye anymore and just support everyone who comes around you. Like, that's not gonna fly anymore. I feel like this sort of trauma will carry into other relationships and will definitely harden her, especially if she wants to like continue to thrive in this music industry. It's just gonna have to be one of those lessons that she learns, is that the light that you have can easily be dimmed. Like, will always be tested, by the way, by people who are drawn to it, by people who are coming with like ill intentions that you don't see coming from a mile away. And this situation really just teaches you some level of discernment. Like, if you didn't have any before, you better get to it now, because some people are not around you to come and just, ooh, support you. Like, that really doesn't exist. I feel like that existed more when we were younger, but as you get older, you realize that a lot of people come near you for their own self-interest. Like, adulthood doesn't feel the same it did. Like, I can't just be carefree around people as much. Obviously, like, the friends that I have, I cherish them, and we can trust each other around one another, and we can have these kind of conversations. But with new people, it can really be a challenge, because if you've gone through it once or twice or 3 times, you know when it's coming. You can kind of detect it. And sometimes, to be honest, it can kind of like cloud your judgment a bit, because if someone is coming into your life and maybe they don't have ill intentions, you can't help but not to like just question, like, you know, especially when certain things happen or red flags are raised. You can't really tell if this is a red flag or if you're just kind of traumatized by previous experiences. So that's kind of the takeaways that I got from, you know, everything that's going around with Cleo and Ice Spice. I just wanted to kind of come up on here and share my take on it and lessons that I've learned. And I hope this video really helps someone, and someone is able to just kind of like pull these lessons out of it to help their own relationships, and to just walk through life understanding that not everyone is your friend. And you shouldn't really wait to the big moments to learn this lesson. You can learn from the situation, to be honest. Thanks guys for joining this video. Please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.